It's Prager University because they're fighting for freedoms, the freedom of speech, the freedom to think what we want to think, and basically our freedoms. So PragerU is, spiritually and mentally united here. Our guest today is Marissa Streich. She's the CEO of Prager University. She is a member of Israeli intelligence, which I have tremendous respect for. I mean, I want to find out two things. One is, how did you get into Israeli intelligence?
Okay, so I'm an American that was raised in Israel. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to Israel. When I was 16 years old, I got a little brown envelope in the mail, and it was basically, a summon for testing. Right. And so I still remember this so well. I walked into this massive room with lots of students and tiny little wooden pencils, and they just started testing us. And the room got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually they figured out what the hell to do with me, I guess. After a few interviews on my 18th birthday, they recruited me. I got a bunch of shots and I joined the military. And so I served in a small unit called 8200, which was an intelligence. And, Israel is constantly under attack. It can't afford to make big mistakes, and it makes many mistakes, but none of them are ones that Israel can afford to do. And so intelligence is key. It's very important. Limited resources in Israel. And, I feel like so much of what I learned in the Israeli military and intelligence has impacted the way I think today. It's such a gift what they had given me. I'm incredibly grateful, especially as an American. I was raised in Israel, but because I came with an American family, I felt very strongly American there. And coming back here to the United States with the gifts that Israel had given me during my military training, I felt compelled to at least employ them here in my country and my nation, in the United States.
Well, it's beyond my meager little brain, because I'm going, your stuff is good stuff. I mean, yeah. It's educational.
It's educational. And I'll tell you, we are very careful. Not only are we careful, it's not in our nature to attack anyone or hurt anyone. We just want to give the facts out. And so people can listen and make their own opinion. It's just, the problem is the other side doesn't want the other side to be heard. They don't want conservative, pro-American ideas to even be out there. And that's what they've done in the world of education. Yeah, remember, I came from that world. I was an educator. They don't want educators to teach both sides. They want educators to teach one side, a left-wing side. And so schools have become activism schools. They haven't become an educational platform, an educational space for kids to make up their own opinions.
Well, they're not.
It's a problem.
No longer education, it's indoctrination. And when I look at the indoctrination, it is Marx, fascist, and communist. And that's my biggest concern, is because, I have 2 tours in Vietnam, and I didn't fight for conservatism or liberalism. I fought for freedom. The freedom of, number one is the First Amendment, assembly, speech, and whatever else they had. And the second is the right to bear arms. And those are all disappearing. So you can be conservative or liberal. I don't care. You can be a Marx. I don't really care. But don't censor me. And so how are you guys, what do you recommend for people? What can the people do to battle, socialist Silicon Valley?
Well, I think we need to come together, because it's been death by 1,000 cuts. That's number one. We haven't been organized. And so a big part of what PragerU is trying to do is to just bring everybody together. Again, you don't have to agree with us on everything we have to say. You don't have to agree with every video that we have. But if you believe in freedom of speech, if you believe that another side, another perspective should be heard out there, then join us, join our movement. You can join our communities. If you're under the age of 34, you can join Prager Force. If you have kids or grandkids that are under the age of 34. These young folks are the ones that need the organizing more than anybody, because they're truly, truly alone on campus. And so, or if they're just starting a job in corporate America, imagine how hard it is for them to hold these values. And so we've created this group called Prager Force. We have 15,000 students and working professionals in it, and we want that group to grow. And so encourage people that to go to PragerU.com and join Prager Force. If you're a parent, parent, a grandparent, or an educator, we created another group that can organize together. That one is called PrEP, PragerU, for resources for educators and parents, where we not only produce content for kids and educators to show students, but we also organize parents so they can meet other like-minded folks and troubleshoot through what's going on. And so we just need to get organized. We need to come together. There are many of us who agree in classical liberalism, conservatism, all of us who don't want our kids to be taught critical race theory. We don't want corporate America to adapt all these, white fragility concepts that they're destroying businesses with. It's absurd. So come join us, so we're not doing it alone, and speak out. We can't be afraid. I know it's a new level of courage that our country is demanding right now. And so we might not be, grabbing our armor and running into battle, but there is a war of ideas, and it needs to be fought, or we will lose America as we know it.
So let's go on to this thing about you have advice for women. What is your point of view on women?
I think the feminist movement has gone so far that they've actually not only hurt women, but they've hurt our society, and they've hurt young women in particular. And to me, some of the crutches that our society is trying to develop, where they're saying, well, there should be a quota of a number of women on a certain board, or a quota of number of women in different positions, I think is very demeaning. I think that women are incredibly capable, and we don't need the crutches. And I think that once you start with a narrative that if you're hiring a woman, you should treat her differently by giving her additional crutches and additional support systems that you wouldn't be giving to other people. Well, what does that say to women about their capabilities? It says that they are in fact inferior. And I don't believe that women are inferior. I mean, here I am, as I mentioned, Dennis and Alan hired me 10 years ago to build this company. And I'm really proud of what I've done. And I'm able to be proud of it because I know they didn't hire me because I'm a woman. Maybe they hired me because of my Israeli military background. Maybe they hired me because of my passion. Maybe they hired me because, I'm just tough as nails, whatever it is. But it's not because of my genitalia. And there's something to be said about knowing that I was hired because of my merit and my capabilities, and not because I was handed a crutch. And I want other women to feel that way too. And so if we tell women, and we tell our society that women should be given crutches, that people of any sort of gender or color should be given certain crutches that others don't get, we're sending a very strong message that there are some who are more capable than others. And I won't accept that. It's another one of those bizarre things that our education system is causing total chaos in our society. And I know we're both in the world of education because we recognize that education got us into this mess, and education is going to have to get us out of this mess.